It's lively.
Okay. So, welcome, everyone. Welcome for those just joining us. Today, I'm going to continue to speak about Vedana, or feeling, or sensation at the all six sense gates, and how it's important in the Buddha's teaching, how to work with Vedana, to be just to understand uh, how we're influenced by it and how to be able to work with it well. So I have some verses that I selected, and I love verses because they give you a sense. The similes in them give you a sense about what the Buddha is talking about. Sometimes it's kind of mysterious, but when it's in a verse form, often for people, or simile, often uh, it brings more understanding of what the Buddha is speaking about. So I'm going to do a share screen now. There's a document that I put together, and this has the sutta references as well as uh, extracts and full suttas. This first one is Bhante Sujato's translation. It's a guest house. And the Buddha starts, mendicants, suppose there was a guest house. Lodgers come from the east, west, north, and south. Aristocrats, Brahmins, peasants, and working class all stay there. I changed the translation of this last word because it was a little bit demeaning sounding. So I just worker class. They all stay there, from the highest aristocrats to those who are doing work in the fields. In the same way, various feelings arise in the body: pleasant, painful, and neutral feelings. Also, pleasant, painful, and neutral feelings of the flesh. And this is one translation of that, niramisa, samisa, worldly, and pleasant, painful, and neutral feelings, not of the flesh, unworldly, or that's niramisa. In the same way, various feelings arise in this body: pleasant, painful, and neutral feelings. Also, pleasant, painful, and neutral feelings of the flesh arise. Also, pleasant, painful, and neutral feelings of the not of the flesh arise. So this is the niramisa, and samisa is the worldly or neutral. Excuse me, I'm getting scrambled here. Feelings of the flesh. So I wanted to talk about this feelings of the flesh and not of the flesh a little bit more. We had talked about that last week, and this is a review of the sutta we looked at last week. It's an extract. So we jump to just from the ordinary consideration of feeling as pleasant, unpleasant, and neutral to a subcategory of those three of the flesh and not of the flesh. And so I'm just focusing on rapture the pleasant. And what is rapture of the flesh? And this is a question here. Katamak cha bikawe samisa piti. So piti is translated as rapture commonly, and samisa. And I looked at a translation by I.B. Horner, and she translated it as material. And somebody else translated it as materialistic. So I thought that was an interesting way of talking about samisa. But literally, it does have to do with the physical, the flesh. And the Buddha goes on to say, there are these 5 kinds of sensual stimulation. See, this kama, guna. So this kama is of the senses. That's the 5 physical senses. And they're considered physical because the physical eye, ear, nose, tongue, and then the touch at the body. So and so then the Buddha asks, what are these 5? This is a rhetorical question, of course. Sights known by the eye, which are likable, desirable, agreeable, pleasant, sensual, and arousing. Sounds, smells, tastes, and all the others down to the body. Touches known by the body, which are likable, desirable, agreeable, pleasant, sensual, and arousing. And so that even if it's mildly pleasant, just having the room at the right temperature, we're kind of aroused to be able to seek comfort. We want that comfort again. We had the things just right. And so it doesn't have to be, so grandly sensuous, but and yeah, for me, I see other people drink my cup of tea just right. The cup of coffee just right. Sorry, I didn't want to mean to embarrass anyone, but yes. So this is so we seek these pleasures, little pleasures, but at the time of the Buddha now, people also go at great lengths to get just the sensual experiences. So we're going to look at the Niramisa Piti. Oh, here it is. It's lost in the Pali here. And what is the rapture? Not of the flesh. It's in this Niramisa Piti. It's when a mendicant is quite secluded from sensual pleasures, secluded from unskillful qualities, enters and remains in the first absorption, which has rapture and bliss born of seclusion, while placing the mind and keeping it connected. So this is kind of often in the teaching, there's it goes somewhat to some extreme or another, but it's like when somebody enters jhana, then they've dropped away their interest in all the physical senses. We've pulled inward, and they're experiencing the mind free from all those sense contacts. And it's a very difficult thing for us because we're so attached to sensation at the 5 physical sense gates. And then to have that confidence and trust to just let go of all of that, because our security is just really tied up in this. So this is the actual the piti, the rapture. So we can have a pleasant feeling that's not of the flesh, the niramisa. If we have like joy at a thought um, of loving kindness, having some kind of a happiness from doing something like acts of generosity or rejoicing in other people's goodness, a mudita. So this is the four Brahma Viharas at a level that's that we can actually experience in the when we're engaged in the world. So I want to just throw that in just to emphasize that it's not just this high bar that's the jhanas are an attainment, and it takes a lot of work, but we can find that niramisa piti that happen. Well, not maybe it could be you could be very overjoyed at doing something that really helps somebody else. So it's not associated with the material or the physical for ourselves, at least, that's just this happiness that comes up. So that was this is what I just kind of wanted to review from last week. And this is a vocabulary here, the kama guna. So it's ka with a long A here, one M and A, so kama is action or another word. Another word is, but you can confuse those two words. They sound similar, but they're spelled and actually pronounced differently. So that when you see kama with a long A and one M, that has to do with the senses. So there's the word here, kama and guna. This is the object of sensual pleasures. All the sights, sounds, smells, taste, touch. Those are the objects. And here we have samisa here. And it's they translate fleshy, carnal, physical, worldly, of the flesh. And it gets down to soil, dirty. It's literally with flesh. I guess it says with fleshy, but somewhere else I saw meat. It's actually like meat. And then I think this is why the earlier translators tried to make more sense by saying material or materialistic. So the niramisa is not worldly, spiritual, not of the flesh, free from defilements, literally not fleshy. So, I think it's fleshly. Okay, I'm sorry, misread that. It's not fleshly, which doesn't make so much sense. So I think that's why they said not materialistic, not having to do with physical. But Misa would do having to do with the actual meat, the flesh. And so free from worldly ties, free from sensual engagement, not fleshly is the adjective. So now we get to the second verse that I wanted to talk about a little bit too, or just to read. to get a sense. And this is the sky and Bhikkhu Bodhi's translation. Bhikkhus, just as various winds blow in the sky, winds from the east, winds from the west, winds from the north, winds from the south, dusty winds and dustless winds, cold winds and hot winds, mild winds and strong winds, so too various feelings arise in this body. Pleasant feelings arise, painful feeling arises. Neither painful nor pleasant feeling arises. Just as many diverse winds blow back and forth across the sky, easterly winds and westerly winds, northerly winds and southerly winds, dustless winds, dusty winds and dustless winds, sometimes cold, sometimes hot. Those that are strong and others mild, winds of many kinds that blow. So here in this body, so in this very body here, various kinds of feelings arise, pleasant ones and painful ones, and those neither painful nor pleasant. But when a bhikkhu who is ardent does not neglect clear comprehension, then that wise person, I'm changing a little bit, fully understands feelings in their entirety, having fully understood feelings. One is taintless in this very life, standing in Dhamma with the body's breakup. The knowledge master cannot be reckoned. So this is talking about the arahant. When the person dies, the body breaks up, this person is a master of knowledge and they cannot be reckoned by Mara, is what this is implying, because Mara searches for those who died, and it kind of nudges them in the direction of a rebirth somewhere. So they've totally gone beyond the attachment to the senses. And so this is by understanding. So they talked about here clear comprehension. And this sati sampajanya, but it would be the sampajanya aspect of it, to have that clear understanding of feelings. So just bringing our awareness to what's arising, and the fact, this metaphor of the winds blowing one way and another way, and the feelings always changing, and just being aware of that. And we have a tendency to kind of latch on to one or another of what's arising, and but we don't notice that it's actually fluctuating, but we might perpetuate it for a while, and then we forget about it, and then something else arises. And so it's like these feelings that come and go all the time. And this is just at the sense gates too, because it's very like even just the temperature in the room, that changes, and my experience of it being comfortable, uncomfortable, sounds, and whether I'm paying attention to sounds that are around, aromas or smells, it's always in flux, always coming, going. And whether we like them or dislike them, pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral, we ignore them. So let's see, how are we doing in time? We could open it up for conversation. I've got a couple more extracts here, but we could, if there's questions, or I'll stop the screen share. And then I could put it into gallery. Views. This one I want to look at. Gallery. There we go. So, does anyone have anything they'd like to share or a question about what was just spoken about and read? Yes?
So the question is about pleasant and painful feelings that arise in the mind. I know the mind is a sense, but they don't exactly feel like carnal or fleshly because they originate in the mind. So this could be either like, psychic anguish, that kind of thing, or this could be like fantasies. So where do these fall in terms of sensuality? Are these still sensual pleasures and pains?
I can,
Can you repeat the question? I couldn't hear.
okay, maybe, yeah, put your speaker.
So we can. Okay, hey, Kat. Oh,
Let's see.
The speaker was on,
Yeah.
Alex. I just could barely
Okay.
hear, so I didn't catch it.
Hey, Kat. Yeah, sorry, I'll repeat the question. So my question was just about uh, pleasant and painful feelings that we feel in the mind, because the mind is a sense, but these metaphors for flesh and carnal, they don't feel like they apply so directly to the mind. So I was just wondering, how do we categorize these pleasant and painful feelings that arise in the mind? So, thanks.
There we go. So, yeah, that's a really good question, but I think all this of other five senses merge in the mind, and our perception of and memories and things like that, maybe of some some physical experience. So like especially like maybe a fantasy or something like that. And Nira Misa is often talked about as spiritual or it's a more refined kind of state. So the equanimity or the angst that a person may be feeling that would be unpleasant would be like longing for liberation or something like that, and a motivating force to uh practice. But like just the anxiety about whether this person likes me or not, or something like that, or what am I going to do about this situation, and so that is in the mind, but it's not a more kind of it's exalted kind of angst. I think that's what we're talking about, discomfort or anxiety or something that's all it is a mental, but then it's also experienced. Oh, it's hard to separate the body and mind, because even like a more spiritual rapture starts out being experienced in the body, and then it becomes more and more distant from it. And but I think that's the because the definition of Niramisa, first thing was like spiritual and not corrupt. I think that was another word in there that let's see if I can find it. I've got it's Niramisa, not worldly, spiritual. And then at the third definition is not of the flesh, and that's a common use of it. Free from defilements, free from worldly ties, free from sensual engagement. So yeah, so often the mind is craving for things, or wanting things to be different, or so it's not, that wouldn't be as far as that from how it's defined there, it wouldn't be near a misa, but it would be Yeah, the mind being the sixth sense. It's kind of pivoting between because that's how we experience everything of the flesh is through the mind. So, yeah, so our our senses are routed. Well, if you want to think of physically, the brain is actually a physical organ, but can we separate the mind from all that? It's kind of a leap for me even. It's like, oh, okay, so because I was trained in medical science and the brain and all the neurons and that's all very physical. But I think the real dividing line is whether uh, it's rising above this attachment to uh, self and the senses uh, and that that's wholesome rather than having any unwholesome, like aversion is not anxiety is actually aversive because we're fearing something that might happen or something, or how can I manipulate the world so that it won't happen, kind of like, and so it's still worldly. Is that good enough? Is there any other questions before we continue? Okay, so then we'll go back. To screen share. Okay. So we looked at the sky.
Sorry.
Oops. Okay. Now this is an extract from a sutta in the
Can you share the document?
is it not visible?
Yeah.
Something happened. I should reshare it. Okay. Is it okay? There we go. So this is lump of foam, lump of foam. And this is found in the Kanda Samyutta. We're not in the Vedana Samyutta anymore. So, and this is the verse and the extract of the teaching that for Vedana or feeling, he goes through all 5 khandas, but this is Vedana or feeling is the second of the 5 khandas. And that's the aggregates of 5 aggregates of form, feeling, perception, volitional formations, and consciousness. So this is just the verse and a little bit about Vedana. So suppose, bhikkhus, that in the autumn, when it is raining and big raindrops are falling, a water bubble arises and bursts on the surface of the water. I'm going to just make it gender inclusive. A person with good sight would inspect it, ponder it, and carefully investigate it, and it would appear to them as void, hollow, insubstantial. For what substance could there be in a water bubble? So too, bhikkhus, whatever kind of feeling there is, whether past, future or present, internal or external, gross or subtle, inferior or superior, far or near. A bhikkhu inspects it, ponders it, and carefully investigates it, and it would appear to them as void, hollow, insubstantial. Yeah, that's right. For what substance could there be in feeling? So this shows a transientness, like the winds too, of feelings, and that water dropping is like the contact, and then you see the ripples going out, and it just kind of disappears. But there's like numerous. I remember at the the group of us from Damadrini. We were three of us uh, in the rain with our umbrellas, and we were on our way to Alms Round. We were taking the bus, and we're sitting, and there's like a pool of water in front of us, a big puddle. And then we were just sitting there watching all the rain dropping, and then all those circles of the kind of ripples going outwards. And yes, one of us had just said, "This is just like that sutta. It's just like that sutta." Because if it's a still pool of water, then you really get to see that clearly, and the bubble and the bursting and it expanding outward, and just getting more faint too as it expands outwards. But our initial impression may be all those drops that are coming down. And so this is how our our feelings are, and it's inviting us to investigate and ponder the feelings, and really see that transient nature of it. And this here, whatever kind of feeling there is, whether past, future, or present, so this would come back to the mind, that we're remembering or we're anticipating, or what's actually happening, superior or inferior or superior. So this would be the samisa and niramisa, even the ones that are more exalted states. These two are impermanent. Far or near. So this is just trying to be very inclusive of any kind of feeling. I'm not really sure what whether we're experiencing it maybe, or others, that the internal or external is usually what that was referring to, but I'm not sure. Far or near. This is a kind of in a grouping where they're talking about the self, any kind of experience that one is having with any of the five khandhas, this whole list of ways it presents itself, either through time, our own experience, or others, or refined or gross, whatever we're experiencing. Yeah, the far and near is a little puzzling to me right now that I'm really looking at it. So to inspect it and ponder it and carefully investigate it, and to see how it's transient, it's void. It's not void, would be referring to not self. It's void of self. Not having any substance. For what substance could there be in feeling? So these feelings we make a lot of, actually. A lot of people kind of their worlds are revolving around pleasant feeling and avoiding unpleasant feelings. But when we really consider the insubstantiality of them, we can become increasingly less and less attached to the feelings. And I think it's a progression too. So we go from the craving for the senses at the, the pleasant senses, the physical sense, to something more refined, to be able to really let go. So at this point, when we're looking at the Niramisa, then if we're looking at that not of the flesh, or not gross, or we're just starting to move away from the attachment to this physical form and the self. But it's a gradual path. We're talking about, like, again, it's our arahant would be completely free from all of that. So then this is going to another extract that we looked at before. Yeah, we have plenty of time. So after we go through this one, we could open up to discussion. And this one talks about the kind of work that we can actually do that in our lives to help with liberation from being so driven by the senses, driven by that seeking of sense pleasures. So this is abandonment, is how Bhikkhu Bodhi has translated it. And Bhante Sujata translates the title of this as giving up. So this is an extract. And all of this below is Bhikkhu Bodhi's translation. When a bhikkhu has abandoned the underlying tendency to lust in regard to pleasant feeling, the underlying tendency to aversion in regard to painful feeling, and the underlying tendency to ignorance in regard to neither painful nor pleasant feeling, then he is called a bhikkhu without underlying tendency. So here again is a high bar. So they've already done this. One who sees rightly, he or she has cut off craving, severed the fetters, and by completely breaking through conceit, he, she, they have made an end to suffering. When one experiences pleasure, if one does not understand feeling, the tendency to lust is present, for one not seeing the escape from it. When one experiences pain, if one does not understand feeling, the tendency to aversion is present, for one not seeing the escape from it. The one of broad wisdom has taught, with reference to that peaceful feeling, neither painful nor pleasant, if one seeks delight even in this, one is still not released from suffering. But when a bhikkhu who is ardent does not neglect clear comprehension, then that wise person fully understands feelings in their entirety. Having fully understood feelings, one is taintless in this very life, standing in Dhamma with the body's breakup, the knowledge master cannot be reckoned. So this is a repeat of the same wording as earlier. So, so we're directed to understand feeling and to understand the underlying tendencies. This is the three primary underlying tendencies of, this is, it's kama raga. I'm pretty sure that's how that's, anusaya, the anusaya of the sense desire, the desire for the sense of pleasure. So for not understanding an escape from it is not seeing the escape is actually the abandonment of that desire. But first we have to see it. First we have to understand it. First we have to see the relationship between the pleasure and the desire. And this is, really basic teaching. But this is happening in our daily life, moment to moment to moment, in a subtle level, and sometimes at a stronger level. And then when we experience pain, if we do not understand feeling, the tendency to aversion is present. I think maybe it's more because it's an underlying tendency. It may be that it's present in that it's arisen, because we have these primary underlying tendencies, and when it's there's a stimulus, then it will arise. So the painful feeling will bring aversion up. And for not seeing the escape from it, we had this, it will come up. So this is going to happen until we've really until arhatship, actually. I mean, it'll become more and more and more subtle as we work with it. We're not going to be driven by it as much, or we'll see it arising, but we won't be driven by it. So the escape is really to abandon the greed, hate, and delusion, or the anusayas that are associated with those. And then this pain, the peaceful feeling of, and neither painful nor pleasant. So when it's at a point where we're have the higher attainments, the kind of equanimity that's very peaceful in meditation, that if we're delighting or attaching to that. And so it's understanding that this is even a conditioned state and impermanent. I mean, it's not that we shouldn't work on attaining these states of equanimity and just do try to vipassana. I don't know. But so states of samadhi and other higher attainments are beneficial on the path, but we have to understand them and know that they're impermanent and not attach to them, even though those beautiful, peaceful states. So we shouldn't neglect clear comprehension. And then our work is to understand feelings in their entirety. And then, and then having understood them in their entirety, one is taintless. So this is, if a person is taintless, that they've destroyed the asawas, the taints, or I think Bhante Sujata says defilements, but I think it's the outflows. There's various ways that this is translated, but this is this indicates one is a arhat if they're taintless. And standing in the Dhamma with the body's breakup. That means that when they die, when the body breaks up, they're standing in the Dhamma. And then Mara cannot find them. Oh, so here I have is that my, yeah, I can just let it. Yeah. So here's the Anusayas. It's Raga Anusaya. Oh, it doesn't say Kama Raga. I think I've seen it as Kama Raga also. Kama. But this is Raga. The underlying tendency towards desire. And this is interesting, that desire sleeping alongside. So it's just like this desire is kind of sleeping in a sleeping state, and then it gets woken up. And then we are overcome by it if we let it. And this patiga anusaya is the underlying tendency to aversion, inherent inclination to resistance. So this is interesting here. It's literally striking. And it's that has to do with the resistance. So like if we're pushing away, I don't want that, go away. Kind of action. So this is patiga as resistance. And then the vijja, underlying tendency towards ignorance, inherent inclination towards not understanding. So this is why understanding is so important, is that ignorance veils the other ones as well as itself. The underlying tendency to ignorance is probably the most difficult. So I think I'm going to skip this. I just took the verse from the arrow, but I think I could just read it through and then we could go. I guess it's not going to take long. I'll just read it through and then we can have a little discussion. A wise and learned person isn't affected by feelings of pleasure and pain. This is the great difference in skill between the wise and the ordinary. A learned person who is appraised the teaching discerns this world and the next. Desirable things don't disturb their mind, nor are they repelled by the undesirable. Both favoring and opposing are cleared and ended. They are no more. Knowing the stainless, sorrowless state, they who have gone beyond rebirth understand rightly. So this again is the Arahant, gone beyond rebirth. But seeing that favoring and opposing, this is important for us to recognize that, be aware of it. It's our awareness, our understanding is what's going to free us. So I will stop the screen share now and put it on gallery. So are there any questions or comments about what was just read and discussed? Yes, F, is that how, Eve? F?
Ev,
F? Okay.
hi.
Hello.
Hi. Can you elaborate on the distinction between, because I'm seeing a distinction in some of the verses we just read between the painful sensation and the aversion towards it. What's the painful sensation if it's not the aversion towards it? I kind of get that at the level of touch, but at the other senses, I'm not sure I understand.
Oh, that's a good question. Yeah, the difference between the painful and the aversion. Yeah, so I think it happens so quickly that it's difficult to discern the difference. Like but so a lot of it's mental. Like let's say I see trash on the floor, and that I feel aversion towards that. I mean, the trash on the floor is just, I mean, the perception, there's a perception of trash, and then there's a perception of this isn't where it should be, right? And so then the aversion comes up. So I'm averse to that sight. I don't want it to be like that. Or there's a sound. Yeah, the sound and the aversion to it maybe happens so quickly too, that I dislike like but a lot of that's perception too. Like it shouldn't, like I'm hearing machinery in the distance and this rumbling. We're having this experience now with there's they're gonna do some construction, so they're doing the earth pounding. And so then I feel there's a feeling of dis-ease, kind of ill at ease. And then there's the aversion to it, like that shouldn't be happening. I don't want it. So the aversion is the not wanting. Because I could feel like some discomfort in the body, and actually if we're not aware of it so much, it's like at a very subtle level. I might not feel averse to it right away, but after some time, I might notice it. And then I've already gotten so kind of irritated by it. Then I feel very angry, and it's, this shouldn't be happening, or I'm irritated by it, and then I'm not feeling particularly averse to it. And then somebody comes in the room and says something to me, and it may be just something even ordinary, but I take it wrong because I'm so irritated. And then this aversion rises up. It might, so it's misdirected, but it's like there's that's the striking, the pushing it away. I don't want it. I don't want it. So that I think so there's the at the contact at the sense door that's irritable, that's unpleasant. I think it's easier to think about than sound. Like sights, most of it's perception, what I think is beautiful and appealing, and what I think is ugly and repulsive or something. A lot of that's perception. Like, why do I think a flower is beautiful? I don't know, colors and things like that. And why, it's my perception. So somebody else would just go, "Oh, who cares?" Not even pay attention. So is that making sense about the version, the difference?
Yeah, thanks. That does help.
Yeah, it's just, I think that it does get mixed up because there's that split second. I think that it goes from unpleasant to no. There's this no. Go, stop. Go away.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. You can put up a virtual hand or a hand on the screen. Yes, Kema.
Good morning, Aya, everybody. Nice to see you. Thank you for the Dhamma talk and the Sutta study. It's always wonderful. I was just, what you were just saying, the aversion and just push it away. I know as I practice, like this morning, I saw a little bug on my counter during this, I was in the bathroom and in my eye saw the movement. And I've experienced this many times. And I noticed maybe the old pattern, but I have enough mindfulness to know, oh, it's just a bug, and I choose nonviolence, or it's just we're beings together, it's a being. And so I can choose, there's a moment of choice, even in the, right, in the aversion or the pleasant or unpleasant. The more mindful I become, and practice all day, not just sitting, I practice all the time, feeling, using uh, the four foundations, I practice that all the time, being aware of my feelings in my body, breath, mind, uh, thoughts, and anyway, I take it off the cushion too, but I find the more I do that, there's a lot of choice,
Yeah.
so these things arise as we practice. I think they do arise, and as I learn, understand Dhamma, the way things are, this I'm it anyway. I There is it's not just it might have been automatic, and sometimes, but I but it's almost like a, oh, I have enough awareness now to know, oh, there's, pay attention here,
Mhm. Mhm.
because
Yeah,
I can feel this, oh, something got, and then I can choose. So that's like the dependent origination, probably, is,
actually, it's the sampajanya.
oh, okay.
It's the sampajanya because you're bringing awareness to it, and you've brought awareness to it probably over time. Like you had the impulse originally to smash a small living being, but you just, oh, it's a pest, it's a bug, and then you've retrained yourself to, oh, this is a living being, and and so that, there's that impulse to strike it. This is a good example of striking. So there's aversion and then striking at it. I don't want it there. But because you've trained your heart, this is the awareness too, awareness of that impulse. It's because you saw the impulse and then you were able to stop it. So then that's the sampajanya aspect of it, is that how you brought your awareness to the aversion and then that impulse to strike. Because it's like I was saying, visual is just a perception. For a small child, a bug might be, oh, look at that, and this is so interesting. Or, it depends on your field of study too, just, oh, look at that. This is a such and such beetle and very rare in the world. And how did it get inside? So, but as Buddhists, it's like our hearts are opening up as this is a living being too. So we have these two things going on. We're training ourselves to behave differently, to not just to go on impulse you know, and strike, or the impulse to grab for myself. That's another thing with the uh desire, is that, maybe mentally, we're maybe not physically grabbing, but I want that. So it goes in two directions, either grasping or striking, or just lack of awareness, anything that's neutral. So what you're doing throughout the day, bringing your awareness to everything you're doing, and to thoughts and impulses and all that, that's the sati sampajanya that you're carrying throughout your entire day. And then awareness of wait, and this is another thing, and just because of aversion, the underlying tendency to aversion transformed quickly to metta, or that mindfulness, because instead of that these things happen really quickly, the underlying tendency to aversion towards the insect, and then the awareness of that, and then the averting the mind more to compassion. No, I'm not, I'm not going to do that. This is a living being. So yeah, so it sounds wonderful. You're doing a lot of a good work.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
It's like I can see the conditioning when it arises now. You know what I mean? Like that condition, it's just conditioning or
Mhm.
whatever.
Mhm.
It's that causes, and I know the feeling of aversion. So I know, oh, pay attention. You know, it arises, and I know it's just, and I can see the conditioning of it, and
Mhm.
it's not. It loses its power. It loses its power to control me. You
Mhm.
know, because so I guess it is sati sampajanya. I didn't really. Yeah, that's what
Yeah,
that.
that's exactly what you're doing.
Okay.
Yeah, and then that awareness, just keeping the awareness throughout the day, keeping awareness, what's arising in the heart and mind, and that's when we start to, like the question Ev asked about what's the difference between aversion and unpleasant. To when you start really defining a little bit more, then you could say unpleasant feeling, but then, and then even noticing the impulse to strike, the impulse to push away, the impulse to say no. And then that starts losing its power, that just a reflexive, like an instant reflex, instead of just, it's like, oh, it's the hand comes up, like the inside the mind. It's like it comes up like that, but it doesn't direct the body to do something harmful, or doesn't direct the speech, to come out harshly or something like that, because we're bringing awareness to that process.
And that decreases this I, me, and mine, this selfishness starts falling away. It starts loosening, and because there's no self in, uh, it becomes less important to create attached to selfishness, and it doesn't, it's not enjoyable. It's like we're taught what I think Buddha said, we don't know what real happiness is, or, it's like we were taught what all these things is selfing is what really where it's at and what happiness is, but it starts shifting to realizing, no, that's not really fulfilling. That's not really meaningful. These worldly things that I was conditioned into, yeah, it starts not being so interesting. Yeah, to feed it, I think, to feed the self.
Yeah, well, thank you. Yeah,
Because that's the one that would try to smash a creature, would be a self,
yeah.
right? Um,
I mean, yes, uh, yeah, because it's us and them, and why are they in my house?
yeah.
And what are they going to do?
Wow.
What are they going to do to me?
I know.
Or my,
Wait a minute, there
that,
is no I, me or mine. So
yeah, so it is, there is a relationship there, certainly. So, It's a little
Thank
bit
you.
after. Thank you so much. Yeah. And we could stay on for a little while afterwards, but I'll just close and then we could have a more casual, if those who want to stay who are live in the audience on Zoom. And then we can just close with paying homage to the Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha. And I'm going to turn towards our altar here. If you have an altar in your home, you could bow towards it. And if not, you can bow towards the image on your screen here. Maybe I'll get it out of, well, just make the Buddha a little bit larger. We'll do it in English this time. The noble and perfectly enlightened and blessed one, I render homage to the Buddha, the blessed one. The teachings so completely explained by him, I bow to the Dhamma. The Blessed One's disciples who have practiced well, I bow to the Sangha. Well, thank you for joining. And now we're going to close the live stream. Thank